Welcome back to another episode of RNT Fitness Radio, and today I'm joined by RNT'er Amit Lakhani, who shares his incredible story of using the physical as the vehicle to completely transform his life. For years, Amit was suffering from low body confidence, paralysis by analysis, and stuck in what he calls a cycle of consumption. In the middle of 2019, Amit decided enough was enough, and he wanted to make a change. In the 6 months since, Amit has lost over 15 kilos, marked his first transformation checkpoint, consolidated perfectly, and is now deep into an investment phase. In this episode, we discuss in depth his why behind his why, the power of the weekly check-in, visualization, and why the grind should really be titled Peace Be the Journey. Without further ado, let's dive in. How have things been since the shoot?
Yeah, really good, man. Really good. It feels like ages ago now. It was 9th of December. And yeah, when you come out the other end, it just feels like amazing memory. So Christmas obviously happened between now and then. So yeah, literally I guess being surrounded by friends, family, and being off work and stuff had slowed down time a lot. So it was amazing, man, because I actually got to talk to people about it a lot more than probably if I did it during a normal week and then a different part of the year. So how has it been? It's been incredible because we've been consolidating through a period of time which is festive and socially filled and all the rest of it. So it's been testing, but probably exactly what I needed.
How's it gone? How's the consolidation gone so far?
Yeah, really well, man. Really well. So so in terms of statistically how it's gone, I was 66.7 kg on the day of the shoot, and now 67.5. So yeah, I would say it's gone okay. Nathan's happy, which is the main thing. And yeah, it's been cool because I guess one of the reasons that I hope as to why I think I've tried to put some good emphasis on it is, as I said to you, I think you in a few messages, I think I came across episode 65 on the podcast.
67.
67 even. I should really know this off by heart. And I can't even tell you how many times I've listened to that podcast. I was so conscious of it. Just something clicked. I've listened to all of them, but that one, I made a little note on my phone. I was like, go back to that one when it's time to do it. And oh my God, I listened to it a lot.
Yeah, so that episode, the reason why you probably find it so timely is because we talk about essentially mastering the tip of the mountain. So, just when the grind starts, you're at the peak of the mountain. Now you've got the hardest climb coming. And you're at the top, and then you've got 3 choices. You can either stay at the top and realize quickly that there's no oxygen up there, and that if you stay at the top, you're just going to be the perpetual dieter. You got the second option, which is to do what most people do, and that's just sort of come crashing down with no game plan. And then there's a third option, which is taking that safe passage home. And then when you come out of it the other end, which is probably where you're coming to almost now, probably in the next week or so, but you're coming out of consolidation. And you have this period of 8 to 12 weeks where you start the grind, you come out of consolidation, and you just master the hardest bit, and you just
yeah. Trust me, that Frodo thing cracked me up because I think that there was a part on that podcast where you and Nathan were talking, and then I think you asked Nathan. No, Nathan was talking about an analogy of this mountain, and you were really quiet, and he was talking, and then all of a sudden you were like, "Have you seen Lord of the Rings?" And he was like, no. And then he just kicked in, that analogy kicked in, and it was hilarious. I think you guys, you know what, there's an idea. I think you guys should do a snippets, a best bits of all of your podcasts, because there's some classic bits in there. Literally that moment where it just goes to show how many times I've listened to it, right? I think it's 46 minutes or something. I keep going back to it. So that analogy just summed it up nicely, man. It was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that episode, I'll probably have to go and revisit it again myself, because it's actually one of the episodes we send to a lot of people when they start their journey.
Okay.
You must have heard it then as well.
Yeah, I had it then. Yeah, for sure.
It covers all the 5 phases, but it really hones in on that tip of the mountain. All of the rings analogy.
That's it. That's it. You know, I loved it. It was cool. I must admit, when I listened to that episode now, I kind of go straight to, well, for that period of time, I went straight to minute 40 and kept on starting when I was going for my walks. I listened to it so much, man. So, and it's amazing actually, because I was talking to Nathan about this as well. Grasping that concept of consolidation, right? It was very clear from what you guys were saying that it's like a critical point. And not a point to be taken lightly. I guess if you're outside of RNT, you're probably like myself, really. What I kind of used to do before, if I lost some weight, then I'll be like, well, this is a license to eat now. And before you know it, obviously you kind of put that weight back on, and hence the cycle begins. So I was like, okay, if this is so fundamental, then it's like, let's see what it actually is. It's all about. So let me see if I understand it. And listening to the podcast, I understood it, right? And then I thought, like, is there any way of practicing this before it actually happens, so that when it happens, like, I've had an experience of it or some taste of it or something, right? And my way of doing that, and I spoke to Nathan about this, but so my way of doing that, rightly or wrongly, but I feel it was valuable. So my way of doing that was when I was in the last few weeks of preparation for the shoot, I would be on the Stairmaster, right? And I'd be on for like 45 minutes, and I compared consolidation to stopping the Stairmaster when you're like fully sweating, dripping, like your highest heart rate, all that stuff, and then just pushing that stop button and then just doing nothing, like standing there and thinking, like, I think someone on your other podcast mentioned it, when you run a marathon, the worst thing you can do is just like stop and just stand still. So I thought, right, if that's the case, if the whole premise of this is just like to keep on moving, but like maybe not at that same intensity, but just keep on moving and ride this through, and not stand there and celebrate and just like seize up, right, physically. And what I'm going to do now is, when every time I'm on any sort of cardio machine, I'm just going to just ride out the next 10 minutes, obviously not as high intense. I'm just going to ride out and tell myself, like, you're bringing yourself gradually down, because when it comes to the end of the photo shoot, this is what it will exactly mean. And I think that really helped, man. So I was just practicing that as much as I could, really, just to kind of nail it in my head that I understand what it's all about.
Yeah, I like that, Naj.
Yeah, it was cool. It helped.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you hit the stop button on the Stairmaster without changing your stride, you're going to collapse.
Yeah, literally.
Your jaw against one of the steps.
Yeah, 100%. That's it. That's happened many times. Well, almost happened a few times, to be fair, but all good fun.
Feeling good. So 4 or 5 weeks into consolidation, feeling good. Any realizations you've had in the past, or in probably like the early to middle stages of consolidation, that you want to share?
Yeah, man. So I'm feeling good in terms of my metrics. I'm like, you know, it's okay. I'm happy with them. In terms of like the way my clothes feel and stuff, it's exactly the same almost as the shoot. So I know that's cool. Things I've realized, I guess, is like not to be like fearful of like having like carbs again. So like obviously the last couple of weeks before the shoot, that was kind of gone. And when I had in my food plan rice and potatoes and stuff, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit like, well, I don't know, I don't really want to eat this. Like, what's gonna happen? I'm not really too sure. Not too sure about this. But now I've just thought, you know, like I think it sounds really like trivial, really, but like something as simple as oats and having potatoes and stuff, it just makes me feel good. Like, I feel full. I feel happier. It just makes my day a bit more. I don't know. It's really hard to even explain it, but I think I'm getting to understand what I prefer in terms of nutrients or food within a 24-hour day, as opposed to what I don't prefer.
Yeah, just a level of self-awareness with your palate.
Yeah, probably that's it. Yeah, man.
Good. Let's take it back a bit now and go to the start of your journey, but even probably before that as well. Tell us a bit more about your background, and where you've kind of come from in this journey.
Cool. So, where do I begin? So ultimately, like probably a natural point is, if I think to back when I was 17, so I'm 33 years old now. But when I was 17, like I didn't really like knowingly put on weight, or wasn't really aware. funnily enough, I wasn't really aware of what size I was or how much I kind of weighed. And then I vividly remember, so I'm just going to put a little story in here just to kind of clarify the beginning bit, right? But I vividly remember a specific moment in time where I was sat in my living room with my dad watching television, and there was one of these programs on about fat loss and people who are fairly larger in weight. And my reaction to that program, watching it, I started laughing because there was one guy who was 21 years old and who weighed 20 stones. And like I smiled, and my dad looked at me. He was like, "What are you smiling for?" And I was like, "Well, how can he do this to himself? He's 21 years old and 21 stones. Like, that's crazy. A few years' time, he might not even be here. What's he doing? Like, how can he get into that state? How does he not know?" And my dad said to me, he said to me, he was like, "Why don't you go and weigh yourself? Because I'm pretty sure you're not going to be that far off your weight in comparison to your age." And I was like, okay. I just went straight upstairs, got on the scale, and I looked down, and I was like that moment, crazy. It's so impactful, and it's like I'm sitting here now, but I can still see that same second replaying over and over again. I looked down, and it said like 17.8 stones, and I was 17 years old, and I thought, wow, I am that guy who on the TV, probably worse because I'm like 0.8 over. So what does that say about me? You know, when I'm 18, am I going to be 18 and a half and 19? Where's this journey going? And that was the day, like, I know it sounds like a movie, but that genuinely hand on heart was the day where I was like, okay, my sole aim is to get as far away from this state as possible. And from the age of 17, I started making some changes and found different influences in people and things. And that's where it all began, really.
Wow. And what did you do? All your influences that you mentioned?
So when I kind of look, obviously it's a quite a long period of time, but when I kind of look back over it, I would say the key things, it started off with my dad. So really thankful to my dad, really, because he was the guy, when he saw that weight, he was like, right, you know, it's not the end of the world. Like, we can work through this together. All you have to do is like, let's just start. He goes, "I'll help you." And I was like, "What do you mean help me?" He was like, "Let's just go for a walk every day." So my dad was really, really, really like majorly instrumental in this, because what I would do every day after coming home from school, because I was in high school, coming home from school every day was, I wouldn't really change anything in my food majorly, I'd say. I was like, I found it still hard to do that. I would just walk every day at night with my dad for like an hour. So 9 o'clock, we would go out religiously, 7 days a week, we'd walk for an hour. So walking was the first kind of major form of exercise I'd do. And we did that for like 2-3 years. And just weight just came off because it was so much in abundance. All I had to do was change one variable and something was bound to happen. And then it snowballed, really, because I just thought, right, if I'm walking and I'm losing weight, then if I just maybe take out some chips and add some crackers and some sandwiches, then maybe what will happen with that? And I made a few swaps in my diet, right? And then that dropped my weight even further. And before you know it, I was like weighing a hell of a lot less. And then I would go for these walks, right, with my dad. And then I'd say the route we would take would get longer and longer each time as we get more comfortable with it. And I would say to my dad, right, I'm going to run, we'll walk half of it and I'll run the second half and I'll see you at home. And then I'd do that. And then I'd be like, right, I'm going to run a bit more of it. Then I'll run all of it. And then then my dad got to the point where he was like, there's no point going with you because you're just going to run the whole thing now. So I'd just find longer and longer routes. And then that was my first experience of actual running. So I was like, okay, I'm running. I don't know how long I'm running for. Let me just start measuring this. So I'd come home and look on Google Maps and I'd be like, oh, that was like 4 kilometers. And I was really impressed with that. And then I thought, oh, there must be like all these 5Ks people are doing, I'm starting to hearing about. Because I wasn't active on, well, when I say social media back then, what was it? High Five? Yeah. I wasn't really like a sociable kind of guy. I wasn't like Mr. Popular in school or nothing. So I would be kind of alienated from what's going on in the world. But as I found myself losing more and more weight, maybe I was listening more to the universe and seeing what's out there. And I was like, oh, I can do 5K runs now. So I started to do some 5Ks. And then, I guess I've kind of talked about it fairly quickly, but my dad's influence, like I'll be forever thankful to him to actually like help me put those trainers on and just walk outside, because that changed the game. That got the wheels rolling.
You were 17 stone at 17 years old, and then how much did you lose over the course of the next 15? How did the next 15 years sort of pan out?
Yeah, so I lost. So the difference between 86 kg or 87 kg and was it 100 what's it, the conversion, like 117 kg or 118 kg? Yeah. So I lost that amount of weight in between the age of 17 and like, let's just call it like mid 20s.
Wow.
So in my mid kind of like 20s, late 20s, when I got married, I kind of settled out on a weight of about 86, 87 kg. I would kind of fluctuate around that stage. So I started walking, and then I found the gym, because people would say, oh, you've lost some weight now. Especially as I go into uni, they're like, oh, you lost, like, I show them some before and after. Like, you lost weight. Why don't you go to the gym? You'd be doing so much cardio. Go into the gym, and you do know that if you add muscle mass, then that will help you burn more fat. And I was like, okay, cool, we'll do that then. So I used to go into a gym, Harrow Leisure Centre around the corner, and it's funny because I used to go with one of my friends, a guy called Jinesh, right? And this is one of my second influences, because his attitude rubbed off on me majorly, his as well as my cousins. So all my cousins were fairly active and sporty, and they used to play competitive sports like badminton and stuff. And I used to just be the fat guy eating Mars bars on the sideline watching them. But when I used to train with them sometimes, especially in the gym, I would see how competitive they were, and I'd be like, wow, this is amazing. Like they would compete with me in terms of number of lifts, or like how long you can be on a treadmill for, or how many calories you're burning in a session, or when we go swimming, how many lengths we do. And it became a running joke. So I would forever be always chasing these guys, and then that instilled that in competitive edge in me, really. So that was a major influence there. And then I found like boxing and just whatever was going, like swimming. I got into a bit of a swimming phase. So because I came from nothing really in terms of no awareness, I started with walking, and I kind of rinsed that as much as I could. Then swimming, I used to do loads of swimming. I used to be obsessed with whatever I find. Like I would be like, if I can swim 5 lengths, then by the end of the month, I want to be able to swim 20 without stopping. And once I kind of got bored of that, or like mastered it as much as I think mastering is, then I'll be like, all right, what's next now? So yeah, man, during my 20s, I just found like lots of different things, really. It was cool.
And then, so you've dropped this weight, probably close to probably 30 kilos, right? That's a serious body weight. So you dropped 30 kilos, and then you held it there for your late 20s, early 30s, while you got married. You had a son.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then what happened? Like, what was your why and the why behind the why on why you on why you started this journey, like the RNT specific journey? What made you think, okay, I've lost 30 kilos, but I've still carrying body fat?
Yeah.
That next level, the impetus to do that, because ultimately you've dropped another 20 since. What was your why that's fueled you on the journey in the past 6 months?
Cool. Yeah, sure. So my why for the next 6 months, so I lost all that weight, and I kind of never really, I battled lots of demons, and I shed lots of noise, but I still didn't really feel any difference. So I would still associate with a 17-year-old, and I would look a lot slimmer. People would be like, why are you always obsessing for? You're still not like, you're not that person. And I just never felt like I tackled anything really. So my why this time round, I noticed something in me when my son was born. Actually, that's probably what triggered it, right? And I noticed a quality in me which I just really needed to deal with, like once and for all. More because like I saw my son, and I was like, I can't be this figure to him and not deal with this underlying quality that I believe I had, which I want to just like deal with. And that quality is a recognition that I was really good at starting things, but never really finished it off. And people would say that about me a lot, really. They'd be like, you'd be the first person to like arrange a social or start a new initiative at work, or come up with all the ideas, maybe get some of the pieces of the jigsaw together. The idea will be halfway through motion, or you're training program will be halfway through motion, whatever. And then you just kind of like, when the going gets tough, you kind of like exit the back door and leave everyone to pick up the pieces. And I was like, I can't really have my son thinking that this guy is doing this kind of stuff, because there's going to be things I'm going to have to start and execute on his behalf, with him, with everyone else around me, to make sure that, he gets the best chance of the best life possible, really. So I just thought I need to really deal with that. So that was kind of, that kind of triggered me a lot, really, when my son was born, just to be like, right, I need to be able to be the best role model I can for him.
Just to explain on something you said earlier, before we go on, you mentioned that you lost that initial 30 kilos and you shed a lot of demons. What were some of these demons that you're talking about, and were these demons responsible for you ultimately gaining a lot of that weight at an earlier age?
What between the age of 17 and now?
Well, yeah, you said between 17 and now you shed a lot of demons.
Yeah.
I mean, these demons were probably what caused you to gain a lot of the weight in the first place. Can you share what some of these demons were that you were struggling with that led you to food?
Yeah, so I would basically have this idea that it's like I would shed these demons. Yeah. Ultimately, it's like an identity-based thing. So, like it's like being taken seriously with people. When I was big, really, I was like not really like noticed, or I felt like I had no credibility, or I didn't have any presence or stature. Even if I would see myself, or like could reflect on how I would physically just be in conversations and people, I would kind of like have the body language of kind of like don't want to talk to anybody, soft voice, softly spoken, all that kind of stuff. And that played a deep rooted psychology in my beliefs then, because I always just told myself, look, I'm not good enough for stuff now. Like if there's a role of a team captain or a team leader, or that's not me, because like the fat guy will never get it. Like, the underdog will never get it. So just keep quiet and watch the popular kids take over, and just watch. And that's your life now. Like, just accept that you're never going to be them. And greatness is probably not for you. So you just kind of, just mumble along and just be quiet, really. And it's painful to, and to be honest with you, I'm not saying like, I'm revolutionary now and that's all gone, right? There's elements of it still going to come back. But it's tough to deal with that. And it's tough to be able to have that handicap to start life with, especially a major part of your life when you're in social interactions. And so when I lost that weight, I started to feel like as weight was coming off, I felt like myself coming to the forefront a lot more, and having those beliefs that, you know what, I have that credibility to stand in line with people and be counted, like, because I've lost this weight. Now I'm a force to be reckoned with now. So that was probably the biggest demon I think I battled with, just having that initial belief that, okay, I was not at the starting line in a race because I was in the stands having like popcorn, but now I'm getting closer to the starting line, and I'm actually lined up with these people now. So let's go. Like, let's see what I can do.
When you were in the stands eating popcorn, were you, just to keep on the analogy, I like you got a good analogy. When you're in the stands eating popcorn, were you eating the popcorn to find more comfort in being on the sidelines?
Yeah, because I was probably I found myself on the stands like by accident. But when I knew I was in the stands, I was like, okay, this is just easy now, because this is what everyone knows me for, being the cheerleader. So I'm just going to play that role because it's easy, because that's what everyone expects of me around me. So I'm just going to keep playing it, and the more confirmation I get that that's my role, the more I'm going to keep doing it, because the identity of being in a race with people, people won't expect that from me. So that's not for me. I'm not going to do it. And then the more popcorn you eat, the bigger fan you become. You get all the jerseys, and man, I was like that guy who would sat there cheering everyone else on, not knowing who the hell I am, just covered in all these jerseys and supporting all this artificial crap. And
then it was ultimately your dad that first took you off the stands and tried to get you onto the pitch.
Pretty much, yeah. He took me off and put me through the training drills, and if we can use that analysis, it's cool. I never thought of this. Yeah, like those like David Beckham type things where he says his dad like teach him how to do free kicks for like hours and hours. He'd be practicing before the world can actually see when it manifests what it's all about. My dad was the same. All those walks, all those hours, he was off the training ground, like preparing undercover. Literally, it was undercover because people at school would be like, they wouldn't say anything because I had a lot of fat to lose. So even dropping a little fat, no one would notice. It took a while for people to be like, Amit. And I wasn't popular, so I wouldn't be in social circles or anyway. But all of a sudden, say if I walk into school, like 7-8 months down the line, people would be like, they would come up to me, which is the first anyway. And they'd be like, oh, you lost a lot, you lost some weight. And I would dismiss it like, oh yeah, it's great, it's nothing, it's whatever. And I'd just carry on. So yeah, man.
Yeah. So then over the course of that your 20s, you started to reshift, create this new identity. You shared a lot of the demons, but your son arrived, but you still felt like there was more to go here. You mentioned the first why was being that role model for your son and changing that shift in behavior. What was the other reasons that you had? Already.
So yeah, so 100%. So like, when my son was born, I had that realization of like the role model, and I think lots of people do, right? I'm definitely not the only one. I think it's a natural thought. But then actually, so an area which I haven't talked about is yoga and meditation, which is another key influence actually. And actually, that's probably I could probably talk for days about this topic, right? But just to touch on it very slightly here for now, that was an influence I found in my late 20s when I got married. And I'd say that has been on equal par in terms of life-changing influence in comparison to my dad taking me for that first walk. So in terms of my why behind my why, so as I said, like wanting to be a role model for my son was the why, but the real why behind it was something I identified when he was born as well. And it was a lingering thought I've had actually since I've kind of been more mindful and things like that and more in the present moment. And for me, I've always had this bug, this itch, right? It's this voice in my head which keeps telling me like, stop consuming and start giving. And I realized, when I actually was like more in the present moment in different aspects of life, whether it be during meditation or going for walks or doing cardio, because that's what brings me to the present. I got these realizations. It's kind of like, I basically saw myself living this life, but making getting through a 24-hour period, I made it look and feel like really difficult. Because I was I just basically saw myself consuming like a lot. And when I say consume, I don't mean I was like buying stuff a lot. But so let me give you an example. The way I would view my daily actions was in a negative way. So I would be like, okay, I'm sleeping to like conserve energy. So that's for me, right? And I guess that's fine. When I wake up, what was I doing? I was thinking, right, where am I going to get like a coffee from? Let me get this fancy new coffee. Where am I going to get a croissant from? Where am I going to get this new breakfast roll from? And then I'm going to go on the train to go to work. I'm consuming rail fare tickets. So I'm consuming more stuff just to get to work, right? And I get to work, and again, look, this is not. I'm not saying it's a bad thing in any way, but I guess it's the facts, right? We go to work to consume. We're basically earning money, which is everyone needs to do, but that's a form of consumption. We kind of accumulation of wealth and finances, only to go home and then fill my brain with what am I going to eat for dinner and how is it going to be exciting and oh my god, like if it's not so tasty, then poor old me and I haven't consumed what I wanted to. Then I'll think, oh, where's my entertainment going to come from? Am I going to watch this movie? Am I going to go out with that person? If nothing happened to the way I wanted it, I'd be like, oh, it's such a shit life. Like, how is this that I've not eaten what I like? It's all got. And then I'll think, what the hell, man? Like, I'm just consuming all this stuff. At what point in my day have I stopped to give anything to anyone? Because if I continue every day like this, then I just feel like I've wasted this existence. Like, surely we were not, this is just my view. Surely we were not put here to just eat, sleep, and go to work and finished. It can't be. It just cannot be. And I just found I wasn't effective to anyone around me. And I just thought, and that was really, really uncomfortable. And then I thought, right, it's in my hands to do something about this, really, and start, because I feel like I had potential. Like, when I was 17, I made this transformation. I got a competitive mindset. I got this belief system that I can do things. And I was like, we need to put that to use. I can't just let it fizzle now, So that was the deeper why behind the why.
What made you think that the competitiveness and the challenge that you were thriving for, you funneled into a physical transformation?
Actually, here we go. This is the influence from RNT now entering the frame now. So I caught sight of you guys because of various social media things, and I started listening to lots of your posts and your videos and your podcasts, actually. And then you guys used that. I clocked onto what you guys were saying around through the physical. And I was like, okay, this seems interesting. Like, through the physical, does that mean I can experience deeper spiritual through the physical? Is that what it means? Because if it does mean that, then I'm all game for this, because that's what I want. And that actually, so when I first found out about RNT, I heard you guys say that. And at that time, early in 2019, I was like, still doing my yoga. And during yoga, actually, this is where I actually can hand on heart believe and propagate and agree with the fact that everything is through the physical, right? So in yoga, our yoga instructor, who's again, like, really life-changing teachings he's given me, and the principle behind trying to get deeper spiritually is using a vehicle to do it. And what the vehicle, the only vehicle to do it is through your physical body. So for example, say if you're in a yoga pose, which is like quote unquote challenging, you could either be in a really difficult yoga pose and be thinking, oh my God, like my leg is really stretching, my hamstrings are really hurting, I can't breathe, like when's it going to end, how many more seconds left, and that's natural, don't get me wrong, that's very natural. But my yoga teacher kind of through time, and I still need a lot more time, but through time guided us to think differently. And he said, look, through this pose, the pose doesn't have to be so complicated. Through any physical pose, once you're in that pose, you use your breath to calm those thoughts down and fight those thoughts which are telling you to stop, and calm your heart rate down, calm your mind down, and just really listen to what's going on and be really in the present. And then what he says is die in the pose, be dead in the pose, right? And basically you slow your heart rate down so much in your breathing down that you're basically not breathing, you're breathing cycles. So if you breathe in, you're taking like 4 or 5 seconds, probably longer to breathe in. And then you pause for the equivalent length of time. And then you exhale for the equivalent length of time. And then you pause again. And in those pauses, when you pause your breath for such a long time and you're just so still, then you realize, then the universe starts talking to you and you really feel like, wow, like there is nothing but purity in this moment. And I've used my physical body to experience that. And it becomes a drug and it becomes like an addiction. And then I linked that to what you guys were saying. And I thought, I'm 86, 87 kg now. And I know that everything has to be through the physical. That is our key to through the door. So if I can enhance my physical and if I can deal with the physical more, then surely I can go deeper in the spiritual, which is where I want to be, because I'm more present there. I feel as if I can be more effective there. If I realize more things while being in the spiritual, that will then give me the impetus to then act on stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is for me. Let's go. Let's do this, because, I have everything to gain and nothing to lose.
That's brilliant. I've never heard anyone talk about it in that way. The physical being the vehicle, very much what we talk about, but the concept of slowing down time when you're in that state of absolute presence, and being able to activate another level of spirituality is very interesting. That's probably equivalent to some of the insights I talk about that you get from the grind, which you call something else. You call it something else. We'll come on to it in a second, but probably the same sort of insights and feelings that you're mentioning, and that when you're really pushing in the grind, you're throwing everything at your body. That's where you unlock the most insights into what you can take forward later on in the journey.
Correct. Yeah, that's it.
So there's a number of things I want to touch on, but just on the concept of the grind, you talk about, you started putting posts up in the group called Peace Journey. As your version of that period of time. Tell us about that. Is that what does that mean?
So Peace Be the Journey is from Cool Runnings. What a movie, right? I forgot his name now, the main guy. You remember?
I can't remember either.
I just remember Sankar, the guy with the lucky egg. But anyway, that's where I first heard it, yeah? And Cool Runnings, Peace Be the Journey. Basically, it stems from yoga, big influence from yoga. And it's kind of exactly kind of what I just said earlier. So again, another thing my yoga teacher talks about is this idea of effort. So like I said before, like when you're in a pose or something, if everything is done with effort all the time, then that can't be a good thing. Like if everything is with exertion of effort all the time, then it gets exhausting. So he says, there is definitely a need for initial effort. You need to have physical effort to get into a pose. Let's just use that because that's probably the best thing. So to get into a pose. But once you're in that pose, then if you connect with your breathing and yourself in such a way, then there's no longer effort required to stay in that pose because it's just peace from that moment onwards. And that is where Peace Be the Journey is. It's like, again, when I was in the grind phase, when I heard that terminology grind, and even before RNT, when I used to hear people talk about hard work, they used to say hard work, and they used to say this is difficult, or this is like, I'm knackered, or grind, or all these kind of words, right? I would definitely understand what they're talking about, but I would just choose to just view it maybe slightly differently, because I'd say, yeah, of course, there's an element of that grind or effort, but then what about the equal and opposite feeling of like being peace in that? So when I was, for example, when I go running, or when I go walking, or when I on a step, or anything which really forces me to have any sort of physical exertion, I like to play and find out when this. I basically wait for the feeling of peace to emerge and then take over. So I've had, and this sounds really weird, and I find it really hard to have conversations with people around this because it's so difficult to explain. But people have definitely, people must have felt it for sure. So like I've had experiences on the Stairmaster where I've been on the Stairmaster sweating, dripping, right? But all I'm doing, I'm not even in my body anymore. Like I know my legs are moving. I know that it's happening. I know that physically there's water droplets coming off my brow onto the stair. I know that's happening. I know what I'm wearing. But I'm not even physically in my body now because I'm somewhere else. It's almost like, I can just see myself from outside, and that's it. And I'm just watching myself, witnessing myself going through this. And there's no sense of time. There's nothing. There's just, it just feels good. It just feels correct. It feels right. The universe has led me to be on that place, and that's cool. I'm happy with that. That's cool. So I loved it, man. I loved those last few periods because I experienced that a lot. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, like getting a bird's eye view
you almost have a bird's eye view of what's going on of yourself. You just see the physical moving.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's unconscious, and your body's just an autopilot at that point.
Yeah.
Your mind's just gone to a different place. I liken that sometimes there's a term called the void, and you get I don't know if you experience it the same way. It's when you put yourself through a really hard set of training. So you've got a really heavy load on your body, and there's nothing else that you can think about besides what you're doing. You're so in the moment, because if you try and take yourself out of it, you're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna snap out of it. So once you look yourself in, you go to a place where everything just stops for a second. All the bullshit in your life just disappears, and you're just so in the moment. And that's one of the reasons why I still love training, because there's very few things that you can give you that sense of absolute presence and sense of peace, if you want to call it.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's what it is, right? Because you've just hit the nail on the head. And that's how I like to term it, because it gives me that positive affirmation that every time I do it, it's a good thing. So yeah, you're exactly right. And I've heard you say that on a podcast before, where everything just goes goes blank for that moment.
Yeah. So you got the physical as being you wanted to jump into this journey to experience the physical being the vehicle. Now, through the journey so far, how has the physical been the vehicle for you? What have been some of the memorable moments and big wins that have encapsulated this in one go?
So I would start off on a physical level, right? On a physical plane. So I naturally now look a lot different than I looked when I started. So that's been really cool, because one of the wins on a physical level has been body confidence. So we're all beings who walk around, and we all like to be. There's like a yearning for acceptance, and there's a certain way socially we think that happens. So I feel like I'm less in my head now about being self-conscious all the time. Like, oh, what does that person think? Like, my shirt, I look too fat in my shirt today. Or I used to think that a lot before, and now I can say hand on heart that I kind of walk around, just don't have that noise to deal with anymore, because I'm confident in the way I physically am. And
incredible shape. So
no, you know what, like
you can see how Amit's looking. Make sure you check out the show notes for his case study. It's linked in here, and you can see some of the pictures, just how lean this guy got. He didn't just get beach lean; he got absolutely shredded. So definitely check the case study out in the bio, in the show notes.
Cool. So like physically, I just got more body confidence. Really, that was amazing, and the noise went away in my mind, and I could just it allowed me to open up and just add more value, and just I got outside of my head physically around that aspect. Another big win was this whole completion mindset thing. So actually completing the RNT, not completing the RNT, that's probably a really stupid thing to say. Getting to checkpoint 1. I proved to myself that I'm capable of actually achieving a checkpoint, achieving a photo shoot. And that's propelled in life in many aspects, or in a very short space of time since then, whether it be a gym rep, a rep in a particular way, right? So before I'd be like, if I do like a particular set, and if I want to get to like 15 reps or something, maybe previously I'd be like, I'm getting to 10, 12, and I'm like, it's time to bail out, and this is where the going gets tough. So you're not going to do it, are you? And I tell that story. But now my story and my narrative is like, what? Like, of course you can do it. You've done everything, and start to think of the positive affirmations. So even if it kills and it hurts, I'm like, no, I can still get there. I can get there. I know I can get there. So on that scale, that completion mindset helped on a micro scale like that. But on a macro scale, at work, I talked to Nathan about this in my check-ins. I feel like, my role is now no longer, I'll just do my task I got given. No, like there's no limits now. I can be a leader of people. I can be as whatever the hell I like to, and I know whatever stages I need to get, I can complete all those stages to do it, because I got that completion mindset now. There's nothing, if I can physically transform myself, which takes daily micro actions, I can do all those, then I can do anything. It's the same principle, just a different concept. And a funny example is we had a Christmas party recently at work, and there was a activity we had to do on our group on our tables, and then we had to go and present it on stage in a certain way. And it's fair to say people on our table were not really too keen to present, so we were kind of doing everything. People were doing everything they could not to get seen, and each table was randomly selected. And it got to the end, and there was one more table left to get selected. And when that happened, the whole time in my head, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I sang a song and presented it in a song? Because there was a microphone on stage. It was just it was literally the most randomest thought came to me. I don't know why. I think maybe I just overthink sometimes. I thought that. And when our table wasn't selected, I got this feeling of like, I wanted to complete this thing, but now I won't have a chance to complete it. So that doesn't feel right to me. And then there was no more availability of time for people to present. So I put my hand up. I was like, excuse me, can I volunteer our table to present? The lady was like, oh, okay. And everyone was like, Amit, what are you doing, man? Like, we just almost got away with it. I was like, no. I've got my completion idea now, where I've got this idea and I have to follow it through. So I got on stage and everyone was like, what are we going to do? We haven't even discussed it. Don't worry, you lot just stand behind me and I'll sort it out. I got to the front of the stage, grabbed the mic, and I was like, guys, can you lot clap me a beat? Because I just want to sing. I said, look, you're here, I'm here. I'm not going to get this chance again. Let's do this. I'm just going to sing a song. And I sang a song. It was a very quick song. I just did it because I was like, circling back to your point, right? The whole reason I did it was because I had this idea of what I wanted to complete. And I just thought, now I'm going to see things through. The more micro actions I can do, the more I can flex that muscle of completing things. Hopefully, the better it gets, and I can apply it on anything I do now. So I really enjoy that aspect, and that's a big win for me, having that completion mindset. But again, look, this is all on a physical plane. The real big hitting wins, or the value points, or the big points come from other aspects, really. So I said before that I talked about this whole concept of consuming less and giving more. And I really feel, again, look, people will say you're talking transformationally in a matter of weeks, but I genuinely feel that's the case, and excited for what else could happen. So I feel like in the short space of time I've been with you guys, because the noise has quietened down, I'm kind of dealing with the physical more. I have really been able to connect with my purpose of giving and consuming less. And in various aspects, that's manifested already. So I took this decision. I'm not like a majorly charitable person. There's always room for more. But I took the opportunity to join my friend's charity because it was. I thought it's something I can quickly do, and the infrastructure is already set for me to just join. So he's got a charity called Just Giving, and they basically feed the homeless in London every 6 weeks in Holborn. There's a team of people who get together every 6 weeks, and without fail, they're there come rain, sleet, or snow. So I joined them. I was like, right, this is a good thing. I just need to start giving more, because this is what my body is here to do. I'm eating all this good stuff. I'm training. This is what it's for, these people, as well as mankind. So I feel as if I need to. I really made a bit of a change there, and can definitely do more in terms of giving as well. So like more at home. So I realized, we moved back, me and my wife and my son moved back with my parents recently, because we're moving out again next year into our home. So we're here for like a year and a bit. And I just feel like, we live together. I feel like over time, like my connection with my family and my parents is kind of like losing a bit. We kind of coexist in the same house, but not really connect. And I was like, giving doesn't have to be like just to like poor people. Maybe to the people around you, just giving a conversation, giving a hand, giving a smile, giving something. So I found more moments of time to pause and just ask them, oh, how are you doing? And is there anything I can do for you? I never said that to them in so many years. Can I do something for you? So I found myself like in that space a lot more. I don't know. I think I was just more available for people and the universe a lot more, and I was more available to help anybody, whether it's at work, on a bus, on a train. I just found myself in situations where I would never normally be because I was so in my head. But now I was like available for people to just help anywhere I could. And the more I did that, the better I felt.
Power of essentialism. You learn what's important.
Yeah, literally, that's it.
Got rid of a lot of the bloat in your life.
Oh, massively. Like there's another. So I realized this, and then I just think of it as a muscle. Like the more I flex, because I realize if I screw up anything in the physical, then I probably will be clouded by all that again, and then all the good stuff I felt like I was getting will probably go. So I thought, if I can just keep flexing this muscle again and again and again and again, and just make it a habit, then surely it's here to stay, and more people can benefit. So I have this thing where on a Friday, if I go to a coffee shop, I look behind me, and whoever's behind me, I buy them a drink.
Yeah.
I learned this from Sunil, your cousin Sunil Videla. He told me about this randomly, and I was like, this is a really cool concept which will help me with that. So I like to do that. You know, if I'm out anywhere, I'll just do it. Yeah, I love it, man.
And so some of these benefits are, you know, they transcend the physical. They go way beyond that. With RNT, you were able to activate this vehicle per se. What were some of the lessons you've learned during the journey with the actual RNT process, right into like the very check-in itself? Because I know you've spoken a lot about the power of the check-in and the power of accountability and just how much value you can gain from that, and that's where essentially the crux of activating this vehicle comes from.
Yeah. What have I learned from RNT? So this basically, you guys have forced my hand to create a structure. You know, you talk about the 3 S's.
Yeah.
I guess in order to be in the end state of a physical difference, which is definitely the vehicle. The process to do that is the structure, systems, and strategy, or strategy, systems, and structure. Yeah. Strategy, systems. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys have forced my hand in creating those systems and structures. So what have I learned? I've learned that I need to. The great thing about decision fatigue, really. So, like in terms of something as basic and as simple as act of cooking food in a larger quantity and putting it in plastic boxes, is an investment which pays you back tenfold. You know, and I learned that from you guys, because that's something you say which reduces decision fatigue. So preparing my meals in the week, all of a sudden I was like more capacity to be able to give and do other things and reduce the noise. I learned from you guys that like the concept of having a non-negotiable of like number of steps per day, right? So if it was up to me, I would be like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to do the steps, I'm not. But if I now think of it as a non-negotiable, then I just have faith and utter faith that when this sun is down and the day is out, that those steps will be done. I don't need to think about anymore when I'm going to do them. All I will just have now is the belief that they will be done. And that belief is enough to make it done, but no matter when. So that having that aspect of non-negotiable really helped. And having the tracker, there's something as simple as tracking your daily weight, the accountability. Wow, geez, man. To be fair, that is the center of it all. Let's be honest, right? Having the accountability there, just knowing that there's someone else who's going to look at this thing, and then, you know, it's not. You know, we're all mature, we're all grown-ups, but you can't help but be childlike about it. You think, shit, is the teacher going to tell me off or is he not? That's how I think anyway. I'm very much like parent-child kind of. I go into that mode quickly. So if I know I'm the child in a relationship, I'll be like, okay, cool, like just make the parent happy, like, you know, that's how I operate. So I'm actually like, I don't like to put a box, you know, the N, the yellow, it goes green and red.
Yeah.
Having a red for me is like, shit, boy, like what is going on? So that really pushed me, having that structure, having that setup works for me. Other people might listen to this, be like, what? Like, how? That's crazy, man. You can't be scared of this stuff. But no, for me, it helped me a lot.
I mean, everyone's got their own area of the coaching that they're gonna really get drawn to. But it sounds like what you just said there is essentially getting the blueprint laid out for you with the structure and systems, and then being held highly accountable to actually executing it. What was the crux for you? And then when you're held highly accountable, that's when you're forced to take massive action, and through the action you experience the physical as the vehicle.
Yeah,
it just runs in full circle there.
Yeah, for sure. And there's things which Nathan has really flipping, man, you like, I guess he's detached from all this, so that's where this is all coming from. But I'm glad he is, and I'm glad all of you guys are learned professionals, because I was skeptical as hell about this whole thing, like online transformations, and what if a coach can't help me in my gym, then how is anyone else going to help me, right? But the nuggets he's dropped, you could argue they're common sense, but for me, I don't take them as that. I take them as like, man, he's hit the nail on the head. How has he done that, right? And he dropped an analogy on one of the early check-ins. And it's an analogy. I love analogies. I'm sure you can tell by now with the whole thing, right? I get it from my dad. I talk in analogies. It just makes it easy for me. So something he said, an analogy. Huh?
Sign of your intelligence.
Well, no, I don't know. It's just the way. I guess it's the way the most complex stories are told. Look at like the Bible and this and that. It's just the way everything is, right? So he said something. He goes, spend less time sharpening the axe and spend more time chopping down them trees.
Who said this? Nathan.
Yeah. And I was like, I just looked at that sentence for a long time, and I was like, I've been fucking sharpening this axe for how many years? But what have I done? Like, what have I done with it? Like, I've probably got the best axe, and I've got a million axes now, but no trees have been chopped down. What good am I, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. Don't worry about and what that really means is I was asking questions around, and I think I actually, I don't know if you remember this, the first webinar you guys did when I joined, I was asking you guys about water. Do you remember?
Yeah. I
was like, what type of water do you drink?
Yeah. Was it the filter and versus tap water? Was that the question?
Yeah. That's it. Exactly. So that is. There's another story about that actually as well, but I won't go into it because I'm just throwing myself off course now. But
that's really interesting because it circles right back to your why about it being indecisive and not completing on anything. You mentioned this.
Yeah.
The running theme of this podcast is this completion mindset.
Yeah.
But that analogy almost sums up the lack of a completion mindset. Just axes all day long.
Yeah, literally sharpening axes all day long. Even when I joined, second week in that webinar I was like, something in this water thing. I saw it on a YouTube clip. I was like, I'm going to ask these guys, and I'll be taken seriously. They're going to answer me. And then I was just like, it was like a bit dismissed, and I was like, fuck, what is that? What I'm doing? I'm just talking about water, man. Let's just park with the water and just start going, like doing your steps and eat your food and go training. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Water, drinking this or that water. Okay, on different levels, you can argue it has an impact, but let's be honest, you're not going to get a physical transformation if you don't start training, eat that food you've prepared. And you know what I mean? That's what carries the big points, So let's start taking some action now. Wake up early and go,
Yeah. Paralysis by analysis is huge.
Yeah. And that's me, man. That's me all day long. In fact, Nathan sent me a video this morning, actually, by Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, he sent me this.
And he was like, I thought of you because that's still me, as I said, I'm not fully like, I'm not a new person now, but I still slip into that habit.
I think the video is called "The Power of Thinking Less." If anyone wants it's by, how do we break the habit of excessive thinking?
That's the one. Yeah. That's it. Exactly.
Anyway.
And so I sent him a voice note straight after that, be like, you do realize now I'm going to overthink about how not to overthink. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah. Speaking of thinking, you're big into visualization.
Yeah.
How did you use that through your journey so far? How do you continue to use it?
Visualization. So this is a massive one, man. Like, this is huge. My wife talks to me about this a lot. So, and I think lots of people probably do it, right? But I just feel like there's something definitely in this. And I posted on the group yesterday, and I think there was a quotation along the lines of, where your energy goes, your mind follows, or I don't know, something like that. But what happened was, so what I think I do a lot is I'm an overthinker. I'm an introvert. I think a lot about things, and I visualize what happens in life, where I'm going to go, where I might live, what type of person I might meet, what job I might do next. I think about this a lot, and I see it like a story in my mind. And you could say that if you tell yourself this story enough, strongly, on repeat, right, then the chances of it happening, it's not a miracle that it's happened the way you saw it was going to happen, because you just basically you're just acting out the story in your life now, because you've just told yourself that's what's going to happen subconsciously. So I visualize a lot of stuff I see happening. And an example of that is like with RNT. So before I joined RNT, I would look at your guys' transformation pictures, and I would listen to people coming on the podcast. And I very clearly saw that being me. I looked at your webpage. I was like, I'm going to be on this page. I can see myself being in this square box, my name being in that text. There's going to be like my start weight. There's going to be I can see that happening, and I can see myself coming on a podcast. Like I can just see this is a series of actions just going to unfold, and that will be the end. And I don't know. I would just say, look, there's something in this. Something in this way of thinking, probably. You just believe it so strongly that it just happens, And maybe I set myself up for disappointment sometimes, because if I see something happen, it doesn't happen, then I'm just like setting myself up. And that happened. My wife warns me about that a lot. Actually, she's like, you're visualizing how this weekend might go, or how this holiday might go, or whatnot. And if it doesn't happen like that, you kind of get like a bit vexed. But I can't help it, man. Like, I can't help it.
And how does it feel now then? You're living out what you visualized.
Oh man, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Like, yeah, when I was at the photo shoot and they were taking my pictures, again, I was a bit spaced out. I was like, I was there, but I wasn't there, because I was like, what? Like, you signed up, you only sent your email a couple of months ago, and you thought this was going to happen, and now you're here and it's happening just like how you thought it would happen. How does it feel? I was asking myself the same question you just asked me. How does it feel? Does it feel like how you thought it would, or does it feel different? And it feels very different. Like, even speaking to you now on here, I thought I'd be at your house and we'd be, I thought everyone talks to you like it's a proper interview and this and that, right? But it's very different. Obviously, reality is obviously always different to what you perceive it to be. But I'm just so thankful that it's happening, because, yeah, man, I could be I could be somewhere else talking to someone different about something different. And I'm so glad I'm here talking to you about the topic, which is health, fitness, well-being related. Like, I'm in my flow when this happens, I love it.
A lot of people have mentioned that the photo shoot experience can be very spiritual and out of body, almost out of body experience, because you just don't. I think it was Suraj who said in one of his podcasts was like, it's everything you thought it was going to be, but it's also everything you didn't think it was going to be, or something along those lines. And I thought that really summed it up well.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. Yeah, the photo shoot experience, it goes by, one thing is it goes by very quickly. So like, you prepare for how many minutes and hours and weeks and days and months, right? And then you go there and you're very excited, and then because you're so spaced out, it's gone. Time is come and gone, and that's it. But yeah, like I said, I think I put a video on this, like, Yeah, and I heard, in fact, the power of your guys' podcast is incredible because, and again, this was another reason why I wanted to come on here. Hopefully, I might have said even something which can help someone, or it sticks in someone's head, because I listen to loads of podcasts just like your clients do, and people always say, like, do a photo shoot, do a photo shoot, do a photo shoot. And again, that prompted my visualization even more. I was like, okay, they're saying to do a photo shoot, so I'm going to do a photo shoot, right? So that's all I can say as well. Like, I would say to people, if you're on the fence about it, just know that you're going to get splinters up your ass if you're on the fence. You're literally going to get splinters, mate, and it's not fun. It's more painful to be on the fence than to not be on the fence. So either decide you are going to do it or not going to do it. But just know that if you decide you're not going to do it, just know that there is so much you can gain from doing it. Like the things I've made, maybe some of the things I've experienced, like you can say, like, I've completed it, right? I thought about it and I've done it. And you have these pictures to show for it, and those pictures will go down in history. There's no one, like, how many times do we look at old pictures of our parents, like from years ago, and we still get them out now on holidays, and we look at them, we're like, oh, Dad, was that you? Like, look at your hair and look at your clothes, what? And our kids and kids, hopefully, they'll be doing the same thing too, right? And I know it's just one aspect of your pictures, but there's a massive story to tell. Just imagine in years to come, that picture is shown somewhere. That picture is more than just, I stood in front of a camera and I had tan on and here you go. There's a whole story related to this, just like what we're talking about. There's a whole story. And that is why, like, I was like, nah, this is something you can't pass up on, man. You can't do it.
What was the time frame to your first checkpoint? 6 months?
Yeah, just under 6 months, yeah. 20 odd weeks.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing condition. Like I said before, to definitely check. You've got to check Amit's pictures out there. Like his legs as well. Like what was with the legs? You've been training your legs hard. That's he trains his legs hard.
I knew the legs would be there. I knew it.
I was like, wow, that commanded my respect there, because a lot of abs, but if you're getting split quads all the way up and really getting definition in your legs, then you got my attention.
Oh man, honestly, like the leg. So I always knew I was leg dominant in training. I knew it even myself before I joined RNT. It would be an area which I would enjoy training more. And maybe structurally, like I always had tree trunk type legs. So everyone used to tell me that, like, your legs are.
Like, I think, is this from carrying a lot of weight earlier on?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, for sure. What's that?
Good calves.
Not comparatively, no, I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
If you've been overweight in the past, one benefit you get at the end.
Yeah, literally, that's it. Yeah, that's the good thing. Yeah, all that ice cream, man, it just went straight to the legs. So yeah, man, I love training. Even to now, like, I love it. Like, there's something about training. There's something about training legs. I'm just like I do it on a Sunday. I know, like. All my other stuff, I might rotate it around in the time in the day, but legs is like ritualistic, man. It's on Sunday. It's at Pure Gym. I know what's happening. Like, it's just me and it's no one else. And I'm just not letting myself off. On some other stuff, activities or other weights, there could be a couple where I'll let myself off. But when I get to legs, I'm like, no, you're not letting yourself off. You are going until just when you think it's getting difficult, like, I guess that's probably the way you guys train, right? Just when you think it's getting like difficult, you'll stop. That's when we begin.
Yeah, it's because you can activate that.
Probably, yeah.
Be the journey mindset.
Yeah, that's it.
You don't get that doing arm curls, do you? Or
nah.
You only get that when you're deep into a leg press set or something.
Yeah, that's it. And when I was talking to Sham about logistics, right? Because as you may probably be able to tell, I'm an overthinker. I think about everything. Like even this podcast, like I was like, okay, this is an idea of agenda. Let me change it. So similar to the photo shoot, I got in touch with Sham. I was itching to call him for ages, but I was like, okay, just keep it calm. Then I was like, no, let me contact him. And then I was like, what do I do about tanning and hair removal, and what happens? Do I get my legs out? Do I not? And he replied to my email saying, most clients don't get their legs out, but if you want, you can do it. And that comment, I was like, does that mean I don't get to like, because I don't think when all my check-in pictures, I never obviously was like fully clothed from the waist down, and they never really revealed anything. And then I was like, oh, what do I do here? What do I do? And then I spoke to my this guy in the gym. So it's the last couple of weeks I enlisted further accountability by getting in touch with an old PT. So I put in some sessions there because I was like, I just want to go literally max out on everything. I don't want him to let me off any machine or any weight. I just want to be pushed. And he was like, he goes, you're crazy. He goes, you should be showing your legs because I can see all this stuff. Even amongst his body hair, you'll be even more better. So yeah, there we go. I was like, okay, I'm doing it. So got the hair out, got the tan on, and lo and behold, it's funny. Loads of people say that when I show them my pictures, they're like, "Wow, your legs!" I was like, "Yeah, I love it, man."
Well, I'm glad you got the legs out.
Yeah, that's it.
So what's next for Amit then? What's next on the journey? You've got consolidation coming up. You've got to make that decision soon of where you're going to be, what kind of investor you're going to be. You're going to go heavy for the muscle growth. You're going to go more lifestyle solution. What's the plan next?
The plan next is going to be more lifestyle solution, definitely, because of a few things really. So one of those things at play is that, as I said, in my head and physically, I've always been quite big, and maybe it's the wrong way to look at muscle building as you just get big, like in terms of like you don't get big overnight. It obviously takes a long time. But I just really am happy where I am now, and I just maybe there's this aspect of me just wanting to hold on to an element of leanness, just so I can be more embedded in this identity, maybe.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because you've come from 86, but you've also come from 117. So that identity doesn't change overnight. Talk about identity and what are some of the things you're doing to help shift this identity and adopt a 66 kilo identity.
Yeah, man, that's a big thing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing Nathan talks about, and it's basically like living a 24-hour period with the mindset of a 66 kilo dude, as Nathan says, as opposed to someone who's an 80 plus kilo dude, right? And I do, and actually that thought enters my head a lot as I walk around, because say if I get a craving, especially at night for stuff, if I'm walking around, I get triggered by stuff like shops or a prep or these cookie places. I basically look at that place and I get triggered, which sparks the reaction of, I'm going to fucking buy this. Sorry to swear. I'm going to buy this thing. And then I'm like, no, but the 66 kilo dude doesn't buy that stuff. You do realize that that's not you now. You would have bought it before, but that's not for you now. And I just, okay, cool. That's my identity. And then I feel safe because I'm like, okay, because I've got a plan. I've got a food plan. I know what time I'm eating next. So yeah, there was an element of noise which came in, but I guess I'm just appreciative of the fact that I can pause and just have that quick thought in my head again. Just be like, okay, cool. No, that's an identity thing. It's nice sugary food, but it's the more I give into this kind of stuff, I'll be associating back with that guy again, and that then manifests itself in like places you walk to, places you eat, things you do, right? Social occasions you create. So everything may have been before around about restaurants and food and this, that, the other. Whereas now it's definitely more around activities, going for a walk with my wife, taking my family out as much as I can, maybe not putting restaurants at the center of everything, so those kind of things help shift that identity. And I guess the more I do it, the stronger that identity will become.
That's huge. I mean, that's going to be the biggest game changer for you, is solidifying that identity this year and keep practicing it and knowing that the more positive actions you take, the more wins you create for yourself. Those small wins, in like a year's time, you won't even have to make that decision because it will just be so ingrained into you.
Yeah, 100%.
Every time you walk past Pret and say no, that's a positive affirmation to your new identity that yes, I am a 66 kilo person. I'm a person who leads a healthy and lean lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%, exactly. And I guess I was naive to think that would be automatic already. And I just still find myself having to make those decisions and cast those votes a lot every day.
Cast those votes, yeah. I think it's James Clear talks about that.
Yeah, the what's it called? The Atomic Habits book. Yeah, that's huge. Love it. Yeah, again, just having that analogy of like casting that vote, it just makes things clear in your mind. Like, okay, cool. These individual things which may seem insignificant add up, and lo and behold, you could look and feel a certain way for many years just because of those little actions.
Yeah, huge. And this year is going to be big for you.
Yeah, for sure. And again, look, similarly, one of the key reasons as to why I will be going down on more lifestyle solutions, because for me, I set my objectives out with Nathan a couple of weeks back, and my central focus if the theme for 2019 was like physical health, which I guess that'll always be there, but that was like that was the only priority really. 2020 is filled with a few different more things now, and number one is moving into my home in 2020. So that is going to be like that's not only something which I'm going to do and we're going to do as a family, but that's going to be my act of giving again, like, because that is I'm basically like creating a family home now for my son and whatever else now. So all my efforts, like saving money to be able to make that more comfortable, planning all the different things which go with moving into homes and getting them renovated and stuff, that is going to be like take over. And I'm just going to make sure that my health is up there, but I'm like, it's not as if I'm saying I've got a photo shoot in 4 months time. Like, I'm just going to go balls to the walls from everything.
Well, it's now about learning how to transfer your 3 S's, make it transfer. Now it's a new skill of not just using it like you do now, learning how to make them transferable rules in any environment you're in. Because moving a house, it triggers a change in environment. If you don't have your 3 S's locked in, you move environment, the 3 S's are going to fall all over the place, and then you're going to lead to a downside in your health and fitness.
So for sure.
All of that in place, staying accountable to that whole process, sure they're ingrained and transferable into new.
Oh, massive. Yeah, for sure. Just circling back on something, what you just said reminded me to mention this thing. So like talking about environment, right? The book Atomic Habits talks massively around that. It's like people have more or less willpower to do something. Maybe it's something in their environment just lends itself better for that person to then carry out something. So that actually that person is not using any willpower at all. Their environment is just designed in such a way where it's perfect for them to achieve the result. And then when they do need to use their willpower, then they've got it in abundance, right? So when I joined RNT at my parents' house, we have our family fridge. And I started batch cooking, and I was like basically putting in these boxes into a fridge full of all these other stuff. And I was like, every day that means when I have to go there, I have to get through the jungle of cakes and biscuits and just to get to my food box, right? And I was like, I'm feeling triggered just even thinking about that.
Yeah.
So I basically went and bought my own fridge.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I don't care. Like, it just makes perfect sense now to do it. So I bought my own fridge. And everyone was like, what are you doing? There's not even any space. I was like, we'll make space, because once I get this, then things will change. And it sounds, again, look, really silly when we talk about a fridge, but it's massive. It's huge now, because around that fridge is this place where I go. There's this new identity. It's like a, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it, but I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's the identity of that 66 kilo fridge.
Yeah. That's it.
Also, you're not tapping into the limited decisions you have per day to rely upon. We only have a limited amount of decisions we can make that are productive each day. And if every day you've got to decide, should I be the 86 guy or should I be the 66 guy? Every time you open the door, you're not only going to make it harder to reassert the identity, we're going to make it harder to maintain that willpower.
Yeah, massively. That's it. Yeah, so this year is just going to be around making sure, and I started thinking about that I can't remember who you had on your podcast when they talked about, I think they were talking about cities and how cities are designed to help people in the environment walk and all the rest of it. I latched onto that when I was thinking about my house design. Although it's just a modest, like semi-detached house, so I can't like build a circuit around it. You know what I mean? But just maybe there's a merit in thinking that maybe I can play around with something and design it like, if I have a little gym in there or something, or I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm going to be mindful of when we do plan for that.
100%. So, Amit, do you have any parting words for anyone on their transformation journey right now?
Oh man, parting words. I would just say that maybe if you're tempted to view it as like it takes a lot of effort, and maybe you're telling yourself and feeling sorry for yourself as well some days, and things seem like quote unquote hard or quote unquote grind and all. If those words are coming to the front a lot, especially maybe for the new people who are doing it now, then just know that you can feel differently about all of those thoughts which you're currently feeling, and maybe just know that you are in control of experiencing this whole thing in a different way. And if that can be experienced in a different way, maybe you will fall in love with this thing and you will never let it go, and you will basically then ride the whole process peacefully.
Amazing. Couldn't have said it better. Perception equals reality.
Yeah, man, that's it.
If you've listened to today's episode with Amit and you want to read more about his story and more importantly, see the pictures, I know I've said it 3 times. Make sure you hit the show notes to see his case study, where we'll not only have the start of his journey and his most recent checkpoint, but just some other candid behind the scenes pictures from his photo shoot, and you can get to see those legs that we've been talking about as well. So make sure you check that out. And in the meantime, thanks so much for coming on, Amit. Really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Appreciate it. It was amazing. Loved it.
Thank you so much for being here today on this episode of RNT Fitness Radio. I'd love for you to do a quick little favor for us. Please head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating, leave a comment, and share it with your family and friends. If you're interested in learning more about how to transform your body and positively change your life, go to www.rntfitness.com and explore all our free content on offer. Thank you.